again, because Guy wasn't in the room, this is not being live streamed, but it is being recorded for YouTube so that it can be put up afterwards. So I would still ask that members use their microphones when they wish to speak. Thank you. The way that I intend for this to work is that Richard will give a brief reason why we are here to explain the situation. We'll then have any questions from councillors to Richard. I'm terribly sorry, I've very briefly forgotten on it. Mr. Routledge is here from Totnes Taxis. Again, not formally scheduled to speak, but as chair, I'm happy to allow him to, as long as the committee is also happy to hear from him. I'll allow Mr. Routledge 2 minutes to speak on the matter. Then there'll be any questions from members to Mr. Routledge. After that, we will then go into debate. So after that, Mr. Routledge won't be able to take part, and then we'll vote on whichever option we wish to go with. Is that clear for everybody?
Yeah, can Mr. Routledge clarify anything in the debate that we need clarifying or not?
Oh, no. Is that a real one?
Is this just a drill? If it wasn't, I might have just lost it a bit. Right, that was just a drill. I am not aware of any further fire drills to take place this morning. Do not panic. Right. Councillor Taylor, you're about to ask a question.
Yes, well, I was in the middle of it when the fire alarm went, so I thought perhaps. But yeah, can we in debate ask Mr. Routledge to clarify anything that?
I would be grateful if before we entered the debate you asked for clarity on anything like that.
Okay, thank you.
All right. So, Richard,
Yes.
take it away, please, sir.
Thank you, Chair. So the report in front of us today sets out the options for the proposed amendment to the South Hams Hackney Carriage Fare Tariff. Legislation allows for a maximum period of 2 months following consultation for a fare increase to take effect, meaning that today is the last day on which a decision could be made on the original proposals. So I thank all members for making today's meeting a possibility. At the last meeting that this report was considered, the 4 options for a maximum fare that were consulted on were considered, as well as a subsequent proposal brought by a representative from the trade during the meeting, which we'll refer to as option 5. In haste, option 5 was miscalculated during an adjournment in the last meeting, and effectively a decision was made by the committee on the miscalculated figures by officers. So this report that you've got today now sets out the 4 original options that went out to consultation, as well as option 5 in its recalculated form for consideration by the committee.
So to be clear then, in the event that the committee wishes to vote to go with option 5, that is now, we're satisfied this is right and proper. That's done. Okay, thank you. Right, members, any questions for Mr. Easthope? No? Okay.
Apologies, Chair. Before we proceed, can we just quickly do any declarations of interest?
Yes, my apologies. I jumped the gun on that one.
Yeah.
So
apologies for absence.
yeah, okay. So I apologise for that. I jumped the gun. Right, item 1. Apologies for absence.
Chair, we received apologies for absence from Councillor Kemp, Reeves, Smearden, Thomas, O'Callaghan, Pringle and Hodgson, and today we have substituting Councillor Foss and Taylor.
And we thank Councillors Foss and Taylor for attending as substitutes. Item 2 is division of the agenda. I'm not aware of any reason why we didn't provide the agenda. Item 3 is declarations of interests. In accordance with the Code of Conduct, members are invited to declare any disclosable pecuniary interests, other registrable interests and non-registrable interests, including the nature and extent of such interests they may have in any of the items to be considered at this meeting. Members, any interests? None declared. Okay, thank you. And I apologise for jumping the gun on that one. Okay, so we've basically had the start of item number 4. Members haven't indicated they wish to ask any questions, so I shall now go to Mr. Routledge, again, for the record, though there is not any opportunity for the public to speak as a scheduled item at this meeting, as chair, I have discretion to allow it, and I've asked members, and they're in agreement that we should, on this occasion, allow it for the benefit of the discussion and debate. So, Mr. Routledge, you're welcome to say 2 minutes to make your representations, and then the committee, if they have any questions, will ask of you.
Yes, thank you. Thank you, Mr. Chairman. At the last meeting that Richard referred to, the committee voted for accepting option 5, which gave approximately a 31% increase on a 2-mile trip, making it £7.89, which the meter would have rounded up to £8. My suggestion would be for tariff 1 to give a 30% increase on a 2-mile journey, making it £7.80. And to achieve that, the flag fall were £3.40, and the 20p click over rate was every 120 yards. That's exactly what it would give, £7.80 for a 2-mile trip. I would suggest that tariff 2 be left at the flag fall of £4, and then 30p for every 120 yards, giving £10.60 for a 2-mile journey. Currently, it gets £8.80, which is 20.5% increase. The difference between tariff 1 and tariff 2 is currently 48%. And on the new figures, this would be a 36% difference. The other thing that was discussed briefly was the fuel surcharge, which I was asked a question about, and I said it was levied at 10p per trip, which is why no driver even bothered to put it on. And that's exactly what it says. It's per journey, not per mile. And I would suggest that that be looked at so that the fuel charge is based on a distance travelled. I mean, at the moment, at £1.95 being the average fuel price, it's £8.68 a gallon. I'm working on the assumption that most taxis will give an average of about 35 miles to the gallon. That's almost 25p per mile. I would suggest drivers be allowed to add 10p for every 10 miles or part thereof. When the average UK fuel price rises above £1.80, I would accept that the tariff 1 increase that's being suggested today takes into account fuel up to 180. But above that, they'd be allowed to add 10p for every 10 miles or part thereof when the average UK fuel price rises above £1.80 a litre. At the moment, you see, if they were doing a trip from, with the fuel price the way it is, if they were doing a trip from the station to 7 Stars, they could add 30p. But if they were doing a trip from the station to Salcombe, a £45 trip, they could still only add 30p because it is per trip. Plymouth start their tariff 2 rate at 7 o'clock in the evening, whereas ours starts at 11 o'clock at night. And I don't know of any other industry where you're asking people to work unsocial hours where they're not getting extra remuneration for it. And I would suggest that our tariff 2 rate starts earlier in the evening. If not at 7, then certainly 8 or 9.
Okay, right. Thank you for that. Members, are there any questions for the speaker? Yes, Councillor Sweet.
Thank you, Chair. You mentioned about the cost 3 for different vehicles for 8 people, but did you want to add anything about that?
Yes, we used to have a tariff 3, which was for 8-seater vehicles. And although the tariff 3 is still in there on the rate card, it's listed at exactly the same price as tariff 2. Now, during normal working hours, when an 8-seater vehicle is requested or needed, it can use tariff 2 when all other vehicles are of course using tariff 1. But when you get to the unsocial hours when the normal taxis are operating on tariff 2, we're expecting 8-seater vehicles to still only work at the same price. Although they're on tariff 3 on the meter, it comes out at the same price. There should be an increase for tariff 3 over and above tariff 2, which is 8-seater vehicles working on social hours.
Okay, thank you. Councillor Foss, will you like to?
Yes, Chairman, I'll just make the point that I think all industries are really struggling. Like, you know, I'm in the agriculture industry. The agricultural contractors have had to put their rates up a great deal because of fuel costs, simply because of that. So I fully understand where you're coming from. It's just a matter of us coming to a right conclusion at the end. So I'll leave it to that for a minute.
Okay. Are there any other questions? Councillor Sweet, can you turn off your mic? Thank you. Councillor Pannell.
Yeah, if we were to go with your proposal for, or suggestion of a 10p for 10 miles, what happens when you go into the next 10 miles? Is it all part thereof, or do you not apply that extra 10p for the extra 2 miles, for example?
It's all part thereof. Yeah, primary.
Or part thereof? Yeah, that's good to have that clarified.
Okay, all right. So basically, there are 5 options in front of us, plus, well, there are 5 written options in this report. And from what I understand, this latest one is obviously not one that is featured in our report. So, no. Okay, all right. So, I'm interested to obviously you've heard from Mr. Rutledge. Any final questions for Mr. Rutledge at all? No. Okay. Thank you very much for your contribution. So, members, I shall open up for debate now. You have the options that are in front of you. There's an additional one that's been presented by the trade. Should we go to that, then I'm guessing we would probably have to. I think so that those numbers can be worked up properly. So I'd like to hear your views, please. Councillor Rowe.
Yeah, can I ask the figures which Mr. Rutledge has spoken to us about, but we don't actually have those figures. Is it possible that he can give those figures to us, and then we can, but that's what I'm looking for, see what the difference is in the amounts that are agreed?
Is that members' wishes?
Then are we able to do that, or do we have to go with one of these options?
Well, I mean, I'm looking for a little bit of guidance here, possibly.
What's Francis?
Solicitor, who's on the phone, Mr. Fernandez.
Yes, Chair. The committee could go with whatever option the committee wants. You're not stuck by stuck to the 5 options, but the only because I mean clearly Mr. Routledge has raised other issues which the committee might want to assess. However, my caution would be that we've just got to make sure that we understand exactly what that means, and that officers have a chance to assess that and explain it to the committee so the committee knows what they are agreeing to. And the last time this happened, it caused a problem because the calculations were wrong. So my caution is just you can choose whatever option you want, including the option 6, but be cautious.
Okay, all right, that's fair enough. So, Councillor Foss.
How long would that take officers to put together so that we can actually see it in the flesh, so to speak?
I would imagine that Mr. Routledge already has those figures available. Would that be accurate? So you already have those available. I mean, I would be happy to double check that based on the.
Okay, so is it therefore members' wish, in order for this latest proposal to be properly considered, I would ask that we, like in the last meeting, we adjourned for 10 minutes so that these numbers can be worked out properly and we can make sure that the decision we come to is legal and sound. So is that members' wish, or do they wish to go for or they're vying for to go for one of the options presented in front of us?
I think, Chairman, we should adjourn for 10 minutes and that's all.
Okay, all right, that's fine. In that case, the meeting is adjourned for about 10 minutes so that this can be worked up. Thank you.